Namaste. Myself Vishwesh, Associate Professor in the Department of Prasudi Tantra, Ayurveda Faculty, Banaras Hindu University. We continue with the topic of infertility. Today we discuss regarding the causes of female infertility. Majority of the cases of infertility is mainly due to the dysfunctions of the ovary. The second important reason for female infertility is either tubal abnormality or the peritubal reasons. Approximately 10 to 15% of the cases of infertility may be due to uterine or cervical hostilities. So, in around 10% of the cases, endometriosis is considered as the reason for infertility. Regular ovulation is very essential for successful pregnancy. Either too infrequent ovulation or anovulation that is responsible for infertility. Polycystic ovarian disease is one of the commonest reasons for oligoovulation. There will be androgen excess, hirsutism, and amenorrhea or anovulation or oligoovulation. So these are the features of polycystic ovarian condition. The thyroid dysfunction is one more reason for oligoovulation. Either hypothyroidism or hyperthyroidism that will lead to the altered functions of the ovary, which in turn leads to oligoovulation. It is also essential for the maintenance of the pregnancy. So, hypofunctioning of the thyroid is attributed for either infertility or for recurrent pregnancy loss. The change in the level of the prolactin or the hyperprolactinemia is directly affecting the ovular function. Those patients, those who are having prolactin excess, are frequently end up in anovulation. So, this is one important reason for infertility. Either premature ovarian failure or poor ovarian reserve. So, this is one more reason for the early onset of menopause or the early onset of dysfunction of the reproduction. Extreme obesity or very low body weight or excessive exercise, these are the metabolic conditions that may also lead into anovulation. The psychological factors like excessive stress or other psychological disturbances may also lead into anovulation. For normal ovulation, the normalcy of the hypothalamus pituitary ovarian axis is important. The conditions like the hypogonadotrophic hypogonadism, where there will be GnRH abnormality, which leads to low level of the FSH and LH. So there will be abnormal stimulation to the ovary. So there will be low hormone level of the ovaries and there will be anovulation. Similarly, in case of pituitary conditions like the pituitary adenoma, there will be anovulation. The other endocrinal conditions like the adrenal failure or in case of diabetes mellitus, invariably there will be anovulation or oligoovulation. So in together, the endocrinal dysfunctions like the thyroid or adrenal or pituitary, the end result will be either anovulation, oligoovulation or amenorrhea. Some patients may lose their reproductive capacity in their early life. The patient who received chemotherapy or radiotherapy may lose the reproductive capacity due to anovulation. The disease history of mumps oophorytis is the important reason for premature ovarian dysfunction. The surgical conditions like the surgery for ovarian cystic conditions, tubal surgeries for pyo or hydrosalpinx or for ectopic surgeries, uterine artery ligation for heavy bleeding conditions in previous surgeries that may lead to the premature ovarian dysfunction. Apart from this, the habits like excessive smoking may also lead to premature ovarian dysfunction or premature ovarian failure. In a female newborn, at birth approximately there will be 1 to 2 million follicles will be present in ovaries. So near puberty that comes around approximately 3 to 5 lakhs, and in some patients in the third decade itself the ovarian function will be totally exhausted. That means the number of follicles may reach up to 5,000 in the third decade itself. So then there will be no ovulation and they will enter into premature ovarian failure and infertility. Luteal phase defect is one more ovular dysfunction that will lead to either infertility or recurrent early pregnancy loss. The main function of the corpus luteum is the maintenance of pregnancy immediately after the fertilization. After the rupture of matured Graafian follicle, the follicle changes into corpus luteum. Corpus luteum is secretory in nature, and the progesterone that are secreted by the corpus luteum, they are mainly responsible for the early nidation, implantation, and the maintenance of the pregnancy. The vascular or the mucosal changes that are needed for the implantation of the fertilized ovum in the uterine cavity or in the endometrium is mainly facilitated by the corpus luteal secretion. The luteinized unruptured follicle syndrome or the trapped ovum condition is also an abnormal condition of the ovary. Here, the follicle will mature as per normalcy, but after full maturation, there will be no release of ovum or rupture of the mature follicle doesn't take place. The endometrial changes that are required for the implantation that takes normally. All the hormonal levels are also normal, but only the change is the follicles are not ruptured. It can be diagnosed with ultrasound where there will be periodic maturing of the follicles while in case of follicular monitoring, but even after reaching the maximum size, when it is expected to rupture, there will be no any sign of rupture. That means the free fluid in the pouch of Douglas is absent in ultrasound and size regression is also not seen as per the requirement. Abnormalities of fallopian tube, either structurally or functionally, will result in infertility. The pelvic infective conditions are the important reason for the tubal blockage. The gonococcal infection or the chlamydial infection, they are more prone to develop pelvic abscess, and after resolving they will lead to scar formation in that particular area, and they will either partially or completely block the fallopian tube. The pelvic tuberculosis is one more important reason for tubal blockage. Either ascending infection from the lower genital tract or descending from pulmonary or abdominal cavity. The bacilli is having affinity in endometrium or in endosalpinx. They damage the endometrium and endosalpinx, and the endometrium and the endosalpinx is replaced with caseating material which will replaced with fibrotic tissue, and the normal functioning of the tube and the endometrium is totally distorted. Either they may completely block the fallopian tube or they may completely disturb the ciliary motility of the endosalpinx. In total, that will lead into infertility. The peritubal adhesions or the external adhesions may be due to previous surgeries or may be due to previous ectopic pregnancy or that may be due to previous infection or peritonitis. So that may lead to the external compression and that may occlude the fallopian tube. So these are the occlusive causes for tubal infertility. At times, even though the tubal patency is maintained, the ciliary motility function is changed because of the infection. The structure is changed because of infection like the tubercular or gonococcal or chlamydial infection. Here the tubes are patent, but the cause of infertility is abnormal gamete transport in the tubes. The previous surgical scar, even after ectopic surgery or ovarian surgery, may lead to scar formation in the tube and that may obstruct the fallopian tube. The block even may due to the pelvic adhesions after the surgeries. After pelvic infection, in some individuals, there may be chances of formation of cystic dilated areas in the fallopian tube musculature. So, in the later condition, it forms a nodular structure in the fallopian tube, and this acts as a obstructive lesion in fallopian tube. The other important reason for tubal blockage is endometriotic site over the surface of the fallopian tube. It forms a scar mark over the fallopian tube and that will occlude the lumen of the tube. Thus, the chronic cases of fallopian tube endometriosis will end up in tubal blockage. Tubal spasm and fine mucosal polyps in the fallopian tube or the debris collection in the fallopian tube may also act as the obstructive cause in the infertility where the tubal patency is affected. So, that may be easily diagnosed in the invasive investigative techniques like the hysterosalpingograph, where one can feel or see the filling defect in the pelvic x rays. The other area of abnormality which leads to infertility is the endometrium or the uterine cavity. A healthy normal uterine cavity and endometrium is very essential for the implantation and continuation of the pregnancy. The conditions where the anatomy of the uterine cavity is distorted that may lead to infertility, like in the cases of fibroid uterus or polyps in the uterine cavity. In a condition where the uterine growth is incomplete in the form of hypoplastic uterus, that itself may lead to infertility. In case of fibroid uterus, if it is present in the cornual and that may directly occlude the passage of the fallopian tube, or else if it is near the endometrial area, that will distort the total cavity or the endometrium. Either it may impair the implantation or due to its pressure effect that will occlude the site of implantation. So, thus, any abnormality in the cavity that will lead to infertility. It may be a simple polyp or it may be a fibroid that invades the uterine cavity that will lead into infertility. The infection of the endometrium by ascending infection is the most common type of pelvic inflammatory disease condition. The infections like the bacterial vaginosis or chlamydial infection from the lower genital tract or streptococcal or tubercular infection that will pass through the cervical area and invade the endometrium. As a result of infective changes in the endometrium that will not favor the implantation after the conception. The disease conditions like the tuberculosis of the pelvis or tubercular endometritis, the endometrial tissue is replaced with a fibrotic material. Later, the patient may not have regular menstruation or patient even become totally amenorrheic. That may also lead to total infertility in further her life. So that is the important reason for infertility like acute pelvic inflammatory conditions or tubercular pelvic infections. Uterine synechia or the Asherman's disease condition is one important condition of infertility. In this case, the fibrotic tissue is replaced in the uterine cavity instead of normal endometriotic tissue. The patient may have previous history of vigorous curettage or any of the pelvic infections. Even after that pelvic tubercular infection, the patient may have this type of presentation. Instead of normal endometrium, the endometrial cavity is filled with fibrotic bands that are running from anterior to posterior or from side to side, and the normal menstrual functioning as well as normal reproductive function is distorted here. The diagnosis is based on either HSG, where one can see the filling defect in the form of honeycomb appearance in pelvic HSG X ray, or with hysteroscope one can diagnose the cases of Asherman condition. In case of severe degree of congenital anomalies of the uterus, they may lead to the total amenorrhea and infertility, and in some moderate type of congenital anomalies, They may lead to the recurrent pregnancy loss rather than infertility, like the cases of unicornuate uterus or with rudimentary horn of uterus. So there the chances of operative deliveries and preterm labor chances are more in compared to infertility. The congenital elongated cervix rarely causes infertility, and the prolapse, genital prolapse cases, the second degree or the third degree uterine prolapse, where the cervix is coming out of the vaginal introitus. So, here, due to coital difficulties, the patient may have fertility problems. Hostile cervix is one reason for infertility. There may be due to acute cervicitis, or the patient may have thick cervical mucus plug that may adversely affect the priming of the spermatozoa. The presence of antisperm antibodies in the cervical area is one more reason for infertility. As a result of this, there will be clumping of spermatozoa in the seminal pool. Previous surgical intervention or dilatation and curettage or any of the cervical procedure that may obliterate the lumen of the cervix, or they may damage the cervical canal, which in turn may lead to infertility. Female reproductive anomaly conditions like agenesis of vaginal canal or atresia of the vaginal canal that may lead to total amenorrhea and aperonia, that may also associated with uterine abnormalities, or they may not be associated with congenital uterine abnormalities. There may be simple agenesis of vagina or non-connecting vaginal canal may be there. The transverse vaginal septum is one condition where patient will have amenorrhea or cryptomenorrhea and infertility. And in case of septate vagina, the patients may have difficulty in sexual contact, or patient be not in a position to deposit semen into the cervical or the near cervical area. So that may lead to aperonia or dyspareunia or related infertility. Endometriosis is one important reason for infertility. A functioning ectopic endometrium outside the uterine cavity is endometriosis. When the endometriotic lesions that attach in ovaries or in the fallopian tube, in later days they may produce scarring and they distort the tubal anatomy. Apart from this, they lead to pelvic adhesions, they decrease the tubal motility, and they also change the environment of the uterine endometrium. The uterine endometrium becomes hostile because of the change in the various hormonal levels. So, in together, the endometriosis is a very important reason for primary or secondary infertility.